Alright, y'all. So this is where we're at right now. We've got it all covered in cloth. And I've got this stinky residue all mixed up. Resin all mixed up. Just going to drop some hardener in there. And it says 10 drops per ounce. So I got about 3 ounces in there, so I put about 30 drops in there. And I'm just going to mix it up. I have such a hard time getting this cap off this resin because over the years it's been used so much that it's just glued itself to the base. Alright, so once you get this all mixed up, what we're going to do is we're just going to apply it to the cloth. And if you didn't catch this earlier, this is just an old t-shirt of mine. So that's pretty much what I used in place of the fleece that a lot of people like to use on these projects. And we're going to saturate this stuff pretty well, especially in this area, because we're going to add a layer of cloth and the 500 insignia there. So we really want to get that in there well. I don't like to have any hairs or anything like that in there, even though we're going to be sanding a bit on this. I still don't want to, still want to try and keep that stuff out as best I can. So get a few drips here and there, that's fine. Okay, so in keeping with the theme of the videos, I want to tell you a story here while I'm painting this on so you don't get bored off your ass. A lot of people have asked me why my license plate is TZap, why TZap is significant in my life, how I came up with that moniker, and generally what it means. So the story goes like this, okay? So when I was in college, I went to Central Missouri State University for a semester, and I met some really amazing people there. One of those people is Jeff Ceriotti, who's probably watching this video. Jeff and I used to sit around playing video games, and we would often play hockey. And I think this was, let's see, was this Nintendo 64? I don't know if it was Nintendo 64. It might have been Sega. It might have been PlayStation, the original PlayStation. I don't remember exactly what console we were playing on. At the time I had PlayStations, I believe, because I can remember one of my dogs crapping on it. This is going to fall. Yeah, I can remember that. So I remember that house in Orangeburg that I did have a PlayStation, but I think it was I want to say it was a Nintendo 64 system. And Jeff and I were making our own custom players, and I needed one for my guy, so I called him the Zap. And it kind of stuck for the longest time. Every time we'd make a new season or we'd make new players on any game, I would always be the Zap. As you can imagine, when you get into some of the, when you get into the social media world we live in now, when you're trying to be the Zap, you're not really allowed to, because there's been 50 people that have thought of it before you. So I had to come up with something that was a little bit more user-friendly for myself, so that I would get it in forums and that kind of stuff when things I was doing. So I decided to go with TZap. So not a lot of people would call me that, but Jeff would call me that, and Julie damn sure wouldn't call me that. We were married, and I guess I thought it was a little more, I guess I had kind of a big head back then too, so I don't think that I ever remember her calling me TZap. I'm sure she'll make a comment in the comments about not calling me that because I'm certain she didn't. But anyway, it was more like a game thing for me. So when I play my video games, I had a name that I could give my characters or give my hockey team or stuff like that. So it stuck with me through the years. So like when I would play video games, I would often try and make characters named the Zap or TZap or something like that. Especially if I couldn't get the Zap, I would try and get TZap, and 9 times out of 10 I could get TZap without too much trouble. So that's pretty much what that whole TZap name was about. It did, like I said, it did follow me around through a lot of online gaming and that kind of stuff, but for the most part it's just a name that I got while Jeff and I were playing hockey. So Jeff Ceriotti, thanks for being that inspiration for me while we were doing those while we were playing video games. Some of the things that we did in that house don't need to be mentioned, but they are quite hilarious. I remember we were in the attic one time, and Jeff and I went to I'll try and give the G-rated version of this story. Jeff and I, okay, so we got this house, and when we moved in, it was in the middle of winter and the heat wasn't on. So I'm not, as I'm doing these videos, I say I'm not mechanically inclined, but I'm not very, like, when it comes to electrical stuff, I know my limits. I stay out of that kind of stuff. So I don't tend to mess with anything that's electrical or that has a chance to electrocute me or send me to the hospital with a sudden electrical shock. So I did the thing that a tenant would do. I called my landlord and I told him, hey man, our heat's not on. How do I turn it on? I've looked for the furnace and I don't see a furnace here. And he says, well, the furnace is in the attic and it's laying on its side. And I said, oh, okay, well, what do I got to do to turn it on? He goes, it's easy. You just go up there and you can light it. It won't really be a problem. It's easy to do. It'll take you 5 minutes. It's laying on its side. So when you go up there, you'll just take something that you can light, and take a lighter or something like that with you, so you have something to light it with. I'm going to turn this panel around so I can get at the other side. So me trying to be brave, I decide that I'm going to go. I just want to hold this damn thing. I think I'm just going to hold it. So I decide I'm going to take this trip up to the attic, and I'm going to do the right thing for my family, and I'm going to turn the heat on with this lighter that I have. And so I didn't really have a long light or like a work light at the time. So what I used was, we had of course we had an extension cord that I used, and then I took the extension cord and I attached it to a desk lamp. And this desk lamp was one of those kinds that had like two tube lights in it, right? So it kind of looked like 2 fluorescent lights in it. And I plugged that in. Like normal, and I ran the extension cord. And to get up in our attic, I didn't really have a big ladder, so I just had to have Jeff kind of hoist me up. So he hoisted me up a bit, and I grabbed the wood things in the ceiling, whatever the hell they're called, and I pulled myself up onto into the attic. So I'm sitting there, and I'm in between 2 pieces of wood, and there's some plywood up there, and I'm just kind of looking at the situation. Now, first of all, when I went up there and saw this furnace, oh my God, it was crazy. It was almost like out of a horror movie. It looked like a giant ass spider on its back, and all his legs were hanging over the edge of what I was looking at. And so it was kind of intimidating just to look at it for me, and I'm thinking, okay, now I got to go in here in the dark, kind of work my way through here like some kind of prehistoric spelunker with this light situation that I have, and get this furnace lit. So I sat there for a minute, and Jeff and I were talking. I was kind of explaining to him what it looked like and what I was doing, and he was kind of giving me the fisheye. And so I finally got enough courage to to move forward, and I go to push myself up, and as soon as I do, I fell through the roof. So this is kind of from Jeff's perspective, because he when it happened, there was so much dust, we couldn't hardly breathe, so we had to kind of run outside. And as soon as we do, Jeff is cracking up laughing. He can hardly even stand up. He's laughing so damn hard at me. And he said, the reason I'm, you know, of course he said, you know, asked me if I was okay probably 10 minutes after he caught his breath from laughing so hard. And, you know, I said I was all right. And then he says, dude, I'm laughing so hard because it was like a cartoon. He goes, you fell down and then all this trash fell on you from the ceiling, like all the broken drywall and all the dust and all the stuff that comes along with that. And he said, you can kind of see what I'm doing here. I'm just coating this whole entire cloth area in this fiberglass resin. And then I'm going to put some cloth reinforcements on the parts that are going to need it for the radio. And then I'll sand it all down nice and smooth. So Jeff was laughing so hard at me. He said all the stuff came down on you, all the trash, all the, you know, the cord came down. It was like a cartoon because the cord came down and it just kind of unwound itself, like, and all on top of my head, all this stuff going all on top of my head. And he said then the light came down like a couple seconds later and just right on my head and bonked me. And he said that was what made him laugh so hard, because it was just a hilarious thing to watch. Was like he was watching a live action cartoon with his friend, and I was the butt of that joke. So that was just one of the funny things that happened in that house to us, and that was several years ago. I think when Julie came home, she was at work at the time, and I think.
Hey.
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 What's going on?
What's going on with you?
I was recording a video. Hold on a second, I'll pause it. Nothing, I'm painting this. I'm putting the finishing, well, not the finishing touches. Hold on a second.
What are you doing?